are feelings that you are left with, and respectfully, you would need to deal with them. That's it. Saying that you've been put in a friend zone doesn't do anything for you, doesn't do anything for the other person, doesn't change anything. Samson, age and pronouns, please. Irie, thank you for the follow. Appreciate it. Hello?
Hello?
Oh, yeah. Age and pronouns, please.
I'm 18, pronouns are he,
Thank you. Which prompt do you disagree with?
that men are not the protectors or providers.
Sure. What would you like to say about it?
I think men just naturally are the protectors considering they're stronger and faster, so it makes sense.
Okay, so if they're stronger and faster, but they're causing disproportionate harm, how would that make them protectors if they're also predators?
Like, yeah, if I, what'd you say again?
I'm saying that if you're going to call men protectors, then you have to call men predators as well.
Oh yeah, fair enough, but they're also protectors, so it's like...
Sorry?
They're also protectors as well, though.
How are men protecting if it's not against men causing harm in the first place?
Because say you have a family, right, just
Are you going to give me a hypothetical?
It's not really hypothetical, this happens a lot, so...
Okay, so before you give me the hypothetical, how many times has it happened to you personally? Before you give me this hypothetical?
Hasn't.
Right, so then it's going to be pretty much a hypothetical, isn't it? Because it doesn't happen that regularly if it's never happened to you.
Yeah, but what I'm trying to say is, like, once I have a child and a wife, right, and if someone breaks into the house, I'm going to be the one to protect.
Right, so when you say someone breaks into the house, is that person likely a man?
No, it depends.
No, statistically, is it a man or a woman more likely to be? I'll give you a clue on statistics. 92% of all crimes are committed by men. So what's the chances that someone breaking into your house is going to be a man or a woman?
Well, if that's a true statistic, then man.
Right, okay. So then if a man is breaking into your house, as I said to you earlier, there is a man being a predator. You then stopping that and claiming to be a protector means you can only be a protector on the basis that someone causes harm in the first place. Otherwise, there's nothing for you to protect. So you're basically saying you need men to cause harm for men to be protectors. That's why it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, but like you're saying, men are not the protectors when they are protectors. Like, yeah, fair enough. Yeah, men can cause harm as well, but
okay,
in general,
so then women can protect as well.
Yeah, but they find it a harder time because they don't have as much strength. Well, it depends if you have like a weapon, but like...
You realise protection comes in more forms than just physicality, right?
Yeah.
So therefore we can recognise that it's not just about physicality.
Okay, but how can women protect then? Explain that to me.
So I would argue that women carry the emotional support in the majority of relationships in comparison to men, and I'd say that's a form of protecting your relationship. I would say that if women are the majority of the time the carers or stay-at-home parent for their child, they are literally protecting their well-being. Raising that child is literally protecting that child continuously. Whereas while the man is at work, working, he's not actually protecting anyone at that point. So everything that happens with that child throughout the whole day, they are being protected by the mother or the carer, and the majority of the time that's a woman.
Right, so you're saying they're being mentally protected?
Well, also physically, because they would be physically, interacting with the child. So both.
Okay, like men do that too.
But if the men are at work, then who's doing it more?
Yeah, well, your claim there is men are not the providers, and you just said men are at work. So
yeah, and who's providing at home? No, you've spoken about men providing in just a financial way, whereas the women are at home, providing a safe space for the child, and providing a space for the man to work. Otherwise, if there was no one looking after his child and her child, then how would he be able to work and not do that? But this is the issue, right? The issue is that as a traditional stereotypical gendered role of a man, they've always been seen as the protectors and providers. But we also need to recognize that women, if anything, do it more. So why aren't women called protectors and providers?
Um, because I don't think like by the word like protect, I believe it's kind of more of a thing where you're like defending them against something, whereas like
Yeah, because
you're
that's
not
how men have always
supporting them.
fought, right? Men
Yeah,
always operate with violence.
I suppose, or not all the time.
Well, the first example you gave was someone breaking into your house. So even your first example of a form of protection involved violence. So this is the point that's being made, right? That's how men think. Men think protection, violence. Why is that that's not the only way to protect, but again, the violence is caused by men.
Yeah, yeah. Men on men violence obviously occurs a lot. Like a man would break into another man's house, but more likely
No,
than a woman.
hold on. He wouldn't be breaking into another man's house. He'd be breaking into a man and woman's house if they're living together. It's not a man's house.
Well, I mean, men are usually like the head of the house. So.
No, that's also a load of BS.
Nah, that's just how it works.
Oh, so now you're demonstrating a misogyny.
What do you mean?
So you're either trolling, and I'm getting that vibe.
Oh, I'm not even trolling.
Of the
It's
guest.
Christian values.
Ah, so this is religious values. You don't realize that there's a lot of misogyny in the Bible.
Yeah, and I don't care.
So you are okay. So just admit that you're misogynistic. I don't know why you're here then. Yeah.
Well, if that.
Don't come back. Oh my god. Well, that was a way to come to a close of that guest. So for those who, I'm trying to find them. It was Uni. There they are. Found them. Okay. Right. So just so everyone knows what was said loud and clear. Christian values don't care about being misogynistic. You see how and this is another example, right? When men say to women, pick better, right? We've heard that a lot, right? Women should pick better, etc. We then have a man coming up here, openly talking about something, seeming to be, let's say, respectful in a way, but then all the while not caring, all the while just a facade, all the while just, I'll wait for the opportunity to just be misogynistic and tell you how much I don't care. That took 5 minutes for that to unfold. Is it pick better or is it just men behave better? Let's be honest. Kai or Key, Asian pronouns, please.
Hello.
Hiya, Asian pronouns, please.
21 male.
And your pronouns?
He, him.
Thank you. Which prompt do you disagree with?
Body count doesn't matter.
Okay, what do you want to say about it?
Because, you can't base on logic or science why it matters. It matters because on feelings, you just feel like it's wrong.
Why? What's the feeling, Tom? Can you identify it for me?
I can't tell the specific feelings, but I'm sure many people agree that they feel bad if, when choosing a partner, they find out she has a high body count female. So,
what's the feeling?
I already told you I can't say the exact feeling. It feels bad.
It feels bad, right. What's the reason it feels bad? What do you think it means about the individual that's had schmecks with however many people it is?
I don't know, you tell me.
I can't because I don't get that feeling, but you obviously do. So you need to tell me.
I don't know why I get that feeling, but I get it.
Okay. So then you need to maybe work on that, right? Because that's a you issue. That's your feeling.
Yeah, but I think it's true for many other men, and that's the reason it matters.
Yeah, again, it's not the body count that matters, it's your interpretation of it. What you view that body count to mean is what creates that feeling within you. Don't blame her for having a body count of whatever number. Reflect yourself on why that bothers you so much. If you can't identify it, it's because you haven't done the work.
Sure, I'm gonna work on that.
I don't think you are. I don't think you are. You know why? Because men would rather uphold misogyny than do the work. Because men don't want to do the work, because doing the work means unpacking exactly what benefits you in patriarchy. You know, I know he's gone, by the way. Like, I went to charge my phone. If any women are requesting, it is for men only. So just check and see whether or not you are potentially requesting accidentally. I don't know. Just the age and pronouns, please. Accidental, no worries. Chicago, age and pronouns, please.
Am I in?
Yep, age and pronouns, please.
Yeah, 41 male, he and him.
Thank you. Which prompt do you disagree with?
This is so nervous. I've never been on a live.
Welcome. Hopefully it's a positive experience for you.
This is a great topic. Men are not the protector. Men are not the protectors or providers.
Sure. Can you give me an example of how men are protectors, please?
It's been my experience that the women I have in my life are treated differently when I am present. And it's frustrating.
Okay, that would be a reflection of you as a man rather than men. So can you tell me how men, collectively, men are the protectors?
I thought you wanted us to use like personal experiences.
I mean, you can to an extent, but anecdotes don't reflect society. So, for example, gender traditional stereotypical roles of a man was to be a protector and a provider in history. That would be on the basis that that label then gets given to men. And I'm trying to work out how were men showing that they are protectors. So one man doing it individually is the equivalent to me saying, hey, I know a woman that's done that, so therefore that's not exclusive to men. I'm asking because I'm saying men.
Oh,
right?
I'm coming from the viewpoint that it's
individual.
No, it's like an inherent men feeling as though they're protectors. It's like they think they think they should feel that way. They think it's their duty, or they think it's their right, and they treat. Sometimes they treat women like they're second class or part of a diaspora, and it's frustrating seeing that, and I don't understand that. And and I notice it when I'm there with my, with women who are in my life, and they get treated differently just because I'm standing around.
Okay.
And it's like a responsibility. It's not a responsibility I have to have. It's just something that I've noticed, and I just don't get it.
Okay. I think we're talking about two different points, though. That's not what I'm focusing on. I'm focusing on men collectively being protectors. I'm saying they're not.
Oh, yeah, I'd have to agree with you.
Okay. No, it's fine.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with you because I don't see them. Maybe at one point men were protectors.
I don't think so either. I don't think at one point they were.
Oh, really? Like ever?
Again, that's why I would want examples, right? Like I want to know examples of how men are the protectors.
Oh. I mean, this would have to be a hypothetical. I would just, because it would go back to, I guess, evolution.
Okay.
And how men just, with being stronger, just physically stronger, biologically stronger, would then, by default, be used as a way to protect.
But again, how? Because we saw women who were hunters and gatherers. So we saw women doing this as well. We also saw that men being, on average, let's say, stronger, then use that as a way to uphold oppression to women, girls, and femme-presenting people. Because eventually we went down the road of women being forced into gender roles of being mothers and not having rights. So I would say that was done through men's choices, men's behaviors. That's not protecting women, that's oppressing women. I'd say that's probably the opposite of being a protector.
Well, I mean, that's kind of a far leap. I'm not disagreeing with you, but you evolutionized that very quickly. So, and it's weird. Well, hold on. Like, it's weird because, like, I agree with you. But you did ask me for a time when men were protectors, and to say, you know, if you were to go back, and again, hypotheticals here because we have no idea how it happened during the gatherers and hunting phase, I think men by default may have been more of protectors, not because it was a societal or a pressure, not because they created this society and made women second class. I think they were just kind of better at it, and with being better at it, or I'm sure there was some sort of competitive. I don't know. How can you say they weren't? It's the same logic.
You're the one making these claims up with no backing. So you're just speculating and you're giving these hypotheticals that we don't know whether they happened or not. But what we do know that happened is that men started the oppression of women and girls. And I'm saying, like, how far back in time do you have to go where you would say men were the protectors, where women weren't doing the same things as men? Like, you're saying men were better at it. Better at what? What were they better at? Like, you know? That's why I'm saying, if you haven't got the information, then we're just making things up on the spot.
Right.
And I don't mean that disrespectfully. I'm just saying, if there's evidence of historical moments where something happened collectively from men that would be described as protectors, where women weren't doing this exact same thing, i.e. when they were all in villages, raising everyone, like everyone contributing and raising each other's children collectively, hunters and gatherers collectively, there wasn't something that men were specifically doing that women weren't. But at some point in history, men got given the title, we are the protectors and providers. I don't think that title got given to men until the point of oppression existing, because there would have been no reason to separate those terminologies between men and women unless something was happening that was, you know, clearly different between their actions, behaviors. But we've got no log of anything.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Okay, appreciate
I've never
that.
really, yeah.
And it's not to come back to your, like, anecdotal maybe. My point is that I'm not saying there aren't men out there that will protect people around them on an individual level. But the majority of examples that men give when that occurs is when a man is causing harm towards him or his family in the first place. So we've got a man being a perpetrator and a man protecting against that perpetrator in that moment, which arguably cancels itself out. Because that man who has tried to cause harm, if it didn't work the way he wanted it to, very unlikely it's going to stop him trying that again with a different house.
Yeah.
So it doesn't actually protect, it just prevents in that situation, but then it continues elsewhere. And it's still men doing it. So no different to me saying a woman can do that as well. A woman can stop someone breaking in her house. You know? It's not something exclusive to men.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, I totally agree. And at what point do you think will society sort of create that equality?
Well, I think.
How do you think? Like, what do you think it would look like? Like, what do you think it would look like? I mean, I like what you said with the observation that, you know, there was no point in time, or at what point in time did this oppression start, and it seemed to evolve by itself and just, I guess, get stronger. You know, so I wonder if, and hopefully when, it will sort of reverse.
Well, we're living in a global femicide, and men are disproportionately harming women, girls, and femme-presenting people, and those statistics are not getting better, they're getting worse. Trigger warning for the chat, but we just had the World Cup. And if I'm not mistaken, statistically on that, the DV rates were at their highest in comparison to previous tournaments. So again, like, things are not getting better. which must mean one of two things. Either men's behavior is getting worse because they don't care, or there's not enough education out there to make a change. I personally think it's both. I think there are more men out there that don't care because they're being influenced by red pill, they're being indoctrinated by that, and it's being upheld by their friendship groups and society. But I also don't think that it's being dealt with at the earliest stage possible, which is schools and parenting. I think there are a lot of men out there that hold on to patriarchal, misogynistic ideologies or beliefs, and they then pass those beliefs on to their children very young, specifically boys, and it doesn't challenge the gender roles. It doesn't challenge the ways in which society is upholding that oppressive belief and behavior towards women collectively. So I think on an individual level, where we might not individually have power in regards to the influence in like Parliament or
Right.
things like that, we can only do what's in close proximity. Call out our friends, if we class them as friends, but call out people around us, educate, make sure that we are engaging with content that's more uplifting and sharing that to men that's actually going to be powerfully effective in a positive way. Giving ourselves more time to watching that type of content in comparison to red pill, and then also just looking at what we can do in education systems. Can we fight for the fact that we have a change in the ways that boys and girls are being educated, where it's not always, and this is no disrespect to those subjects, but it's not always a heavy focus on math, science, and English to the extent it is, where we can say, what if one lesson less was done a week on those, and it was focused on things like communication, collaboration, and respect, like towards one another, life skills, consent, schmex education. There's just not enough of it.
Yeah.
I don't know what it's like where you live, but in my schools that I used to work in not too long ago, they'd have one lesson every 2 weeks, maybe every week. That 1 hour, when I've been doing this live for about 3 years with different prompts, but for about 3 years, and the amount that I've learned probably hasn't even scratched much of the surface in comparison to what else is really out there on that systemic level. How are kids in school not getting any of this information? When I was in secondary school and I was learning about history, I didn't learn about this side of history. All I learned about was the dates of wars and the kings and, always about Henry VIII and his wives for some reason. Why was there a heavy emphasis on that when we all know what happened to them? You know what I mean? So
yeah.
no, there was the systems.
I know there was one comment I heard, and I really appreciated it. It was, how come in schools we teach the young women not to tease the boys or what not to wear the boys, as opposed to saying to the boys, don't act on those feelings.
Well, yeah, I think a shift needs to be taken away from the survivor/victim and then onto the perpetrator. Yeah, that's where the energy and the education needs to be directed towards the boys. Right? Because otherwise what we're doing is almost saying like the way the boys are thinking, feeling, and acting is okay, and women just have to accept it. That's not what it should be. It should be, we need to hold boys accountable. And holding boys accountable does not mean attacking them. It doesn't mean shouting at them. It just means educating by saying, no, what you just said or did is not okay. And we're going to explain why. Right? So for me, there's not enough of that. But when we look at the systems in place, right, I could be wrong when I say this, and I apologize to the chat because this is more of an opinion, and I don't know if it's factual. I would say that race is the biggest intersection. I could be wrong, but I would say it's the biggest intersection, right? In secondary school, didn't learn anything about racism. Genuinely didn't learn anything about that. Now, granted, that was about 20 years ago, roughly. Okay? So I get that 20 years ago. I don't know whether things have changed. I don't know what, 16-year-olds or 14-year-olds, whatever, are learning about history right now. But when in the present moment, these are the biggest things that are affecting the largest amount of people, why am I learning about, and again, I don't know how disrespectful this is to things that happen in history, but why am I having weeks worth of, as I said in the chat earlier, Henry VIII or, what was it, Battle of Hastings, 1066 or something, like the wars, Napoleon, Granted, there's probably a lot in there that is information that's helpful, but I do look at that and think to myself, that's not that specific thing isn't going to help me directly today in comparison to unpacking racism. You know, like exploring.
Yeah.
I mean, there was never like a for 3 months we're going to learn about this. You know,
Right.
it was like, well, look at this king, done. Did it go into detail? Probably not. You know, I'm not saying.
Yeah.
I'm not saying Kitty wasn't relevant. I'm saying like in comparison, like in comparison to going into racism, wasn't even touched. Like wasn't even spoken about.
Oh, I mean, no. Well, for us, for
Let me bring Kitty in.
It was a little bit different.
Let me bring Kitty in. Hi, Kitty.
Hi, Kitty 42 Shehar. You were prepared there for me.
No, so I could go on.
Hang on. So Henry VIII, there is a lot there about misogyny in regards to his wives. So there's that. The issue with history is very relevant. It's not inclusive enough. It's been whitewashed. That's the issue.
Yeah.
It very much needs to be on the curriculum as much as anti-misogyny education. However, through history, sociology should be very key elements equally as well, because we learn from our past mistakes. It's what's wrong is we do not have an age-appropriate inclusive education which teaches about LGBTQ plus history, which doesn't include elements of patriarchy, the elements of that in war, how women were treated through that, things like that.
So to make it clear,
and just to be clear, and to do with race as well, but that's what I'm saying. I know you're not saying replace it, but I'm just saying it does have to have an equal distribution alongside and focus alongside anti-misogyny, because there's a lot of misogyny and the intersections there.
Yeah, to make
within those subjects.
My point wasn't that history isn't needed at all.
No,
I know. No, I'm addressing people in the chat. My point as well. My point is that within what we learned about history, nothing of it spoke about the systemic impact. It was just like, hey, this happened 400 years ago. We're just letting you know. That's kind of how it was. It was like, you know, when you have a test, can you remember what happened between these dates? And it's like, oh yeah, I remember. And then it's like, give an example of something that happened. Oh, this happened, and it's like done. It never, like you say, went deep enough to unpack like what impact did that have.
Yeah.
So yeah, I completely agree. It's needed. Sorry if that came across like it wasn't. It was more the way that they like packaged that up. It was like I never learned anything about race. Genuinely, didn't learn anything about racism.
Yeah, and again, because that's the whitewashing of history, and we're very much seeing that, especially in America, and within the UK as well. Like various history books and such, particularly on race and to do with the history of how Black and brown people have been treated, are being removed from libraries. So that's the thing. It's very much needed. I think for me, Bex has summed it up. History classes should be showing misogyny, racism, ableism, etc. It's the inclusion. It's very much needed. It needs to be a key part of the curriculum as well, alongside the anti-misogyny, the emotional regulation, etc. It's not enough. It has to be all inclusive.
Do you like
equal footing, equal rating.
Like what Emma said in the chat, right? So many of women's inventions and discoveries are stolen and wrongly attributed to men, right? How impactful would it have been to have learnt that in school? You know what I mean? Like how, even when you're starting to then talk about the aspects of misogyny, that would have been so important for the girls in that class to also hear, for the boys to recognize, knowing that you're in a patriarchy where you're already viewing girls as potentially less than because of what society tells you, teaches you, etc. Moments like that, huge, but how interesting that those parts of history was left out in comparison to, hey, I don't know why I keep coming back for Henry VIII, I don't know what it is, but it's probably the only thing I remember.
I know why.
Did you know why?
Next year. February.
Wait, what's going on?
Remember? Oh, come on. Number 6, that's all I'm going to say. 6 Sex.
I'm drawing a blank. Why
Sex
not?
the musical. Sex the musical.
Oh yeah.
Oh.
Maybe it is that. Maybe it is. Yeah. I can't wait.
Yeah. Right, and we'll get back to education. Sorry.
No,
I just
talk to Chicago or.
I know it was actually to talk to you.
Okay.
You're very welcome. Yeah, just to be clear. Anyway, thanks.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Okay, so yeah, sorry, Chicago. Appreciate you waiting.
You're good.
Over to you.
Yeah, no, you're fine.
I can hear you. Yeah, keep talking.
I don't really have anything more to add, to be quite honest. It was just a different take on men are not the protectors or providers. And it was just giving examples of, within a misogynistic society, how, men are protectors just because we're in this default society, and it just sucks. And until we evolve out of it, that's just the way it's going to be. Or that's just been my experience from it. And so it's like, no, like they're not, I don't see men as ultimate protectors or providers or even needing to be in that space or being the only ones who have to take that responsibility. But unfortunately, I do see it day in and day out. I mean, even at work, I'll have my boss give ideas at meetings. I'll give the same ideas and they'll listen to me. And then she's like, I don't get it. She goes, I said that idea last week. I was like, I know you did. And that's why I emphasized it again. And it's frustrating. It's very, very frustrating. And it's frustrating to be an ally while just my presence is pushing forward the misogynistic, I guess, like society or the framework that we're in.
Well, the example of that situation would be that when you recognize to the individual that you are saying it again for her benefit, the person you are saying it to, you also allude to and just say, listen, just to let you know, this idea that you think of mine that's good that you want to go with wasn't my idea, it was hers.
Right.
That's challenging that misogyny, right? Is sort of saying like, so you're kind of listening to me, but you obviously then weren't listening to her because this is no different to what happens in this live, right? I'll say something, men will be like, okay, and some women will be like, okay. But then if moderators say it, it's like, whoa, why are you coming at me? Like, why are you, and the moderators here are women. There's one that's a man who isn't currently here at the moment, but the majority of the time it's the mods that are women who are saying the exact same thing as me, but they get pushed back. When I say it, so it's just reiterating that to ensure that even if you're someone who is a friendly or an ally, we can still, call out people that are allies by saying, hey, just remember that what you've done there is also upholding.
Yeah. And I wish there was a way to teach that, or I wish there was a way to communicate that. And I haven't done enough research, but it would be nice to kind of follow more of those social influencers who are sort of advocating for that, for that equality. But I think I've taken enough of your time. Thank you so much for inviting me. I appreciate it.
I hope you had a good first experience. Take care, buddy.
You too.
Bye-bye. All right. Apologies to those who are waiting. Andre? Yes, previous guest, if you are still here, there's some names that have been put in there by Kitty of other content creators that you could follow. Outrage, Denedo, Ari for Education, Angela, phenomenal educators, all of them. They would be great people to follow and watch their lives. I think the majority of them are also in America, so time zone wise, you might be able to align with potentially watching them at the time that suits you more. Ghost, nope. The ghost disappeared. See what I did there? Anyway. Right. So we have a little bit of downtime. Lovely. Lovely. Yes. Angela, I think her name is Reclaim. Is it Reclaim, Angela? Right. Thanks for the follow, B. Appreciate it. Ghost has gone. Hey, Laura, welcome in. Good to see you. Nick, thank you so much for the Mia hearts. Same as Rick. Reclaim is Reclaim something, isn't it? I don't know if it's Reclaim Angela. I don't know. I don't think it is it? Reclaim. Can't remember what it is. I don't know. I know it's reclaim something. Thank you, Staples. No, it's just Angela. Yeah, but there's the at JB Social. There's like an at. So as in like my Lex is Angela's Angela, and then my Lex therapy is Angela Reclaims. Angela Reclaims. There you go. What does the on stand for in lemon? It stands for on. Let's educate men on. And then there we go. Mikey, thank you for the follow. Appreciate it. There we go. There we go. Why lemon? I don't actually have a reason. Just, I don't know, just, I think it was like, let's educate men. So I was like, cool. And then I thought, oh my gosh, if I put on, that spells out lemon. So I went with it. But we are the spuds here. We're not the lemons. We are the spuds. The weekend is halfway through. Did you used to be misogynistic? I don't think that men can really get rid of their misogyny whilst continuing to live in a system that is upheld by it. So there's probably a lot of misogyny that I still haven't unpacked. That's what going on the journey is, and learning, you know, in what ways I still contribute to ensure that I don't, if that's even possible. But yeah, there were definitely, where's that system? It's called the patriarchy, Yusuf. It's literally the world you live in. Are you quite active, Lex? I mean, I walk around, you know. Last Dimaro? Absolutely not, no. I would say I was never down the red pill route, absolutely not. But I would definitely hold on to beliefs that was misogynistic to have. No, Jim. I would say so, yeah. Some people kind of argue the point, again, I'm not saying that it's like this. Some people argue the point that there's a difference between, Kitty actually worded this really well and I can't remember it, so I'll say it and then Kitty will remember, I know you will. But it was something along the lines of like, there's a difference between being misogynistic and being a misogynist. But I remember Kitty corrected it last time in a different way, so that might like, Bullfrog is back. Good to see you, buddy. Do you believe height and money don't matter? That's the source of male insecurity. So I don't think height matters. Absolutely not. Money, I think money matters to the extent of things like financial stability at certain maybe ages of your life. Like, are we really expecting 18-year-olds to come straight out of uni and be financially stable? I don't think so. I don't think that's a realistic expectation. So when you're maybe at a certain age where you would like to settle down with someone and have a family, I would say that, you know, for someone else to want to be with a person that is financially stable, to have a certain lifestyle they want, I can understand why that would be important to them. But I wouldn't go as far as saying like, you need to be earning 6 figures and things like that. For those of you in the chat saying height matters, that is an insecurity. Potentially internalized misogyny. IDK, age and pronouns, please. Okay. Do you have an example of internalized misogyny for women? Well, yeah, an example of that would obviously be the things that men believe that are misogynistic, then women also believe. So if women think that body count matters for men because it shows they have no self-respect, that would be internalizing that misogyny, because that's what's always been said about women first. Love that, Claudine. Yeah, that's a good one, Emma. How is it bad that a woman don't want to be with a man with 100 bodies? Again, it's upholding either internalized misogyny or insecurity. Now, if you have an insecurity about it, I don't think that's bad. I think it's bad if you project it onto someone else. But if you own your own insecurity, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Like, what you do with your own insecurity is up to you. But when you start to project that onto someone else and make out it's their problem to deal with, then I think that's a problem. Chloe, yeah, so if that's what you feel, then that would be an internalized misogyny / insecurity take, if you are a woman. So yeah, that's what that would be if you think that matters. A man with 100 bodies is a lustful man. Again, it's not facts, that's just your opinion. Is lustful the cracking word? Lustful. Wow. Cracking word. Lustful. I like that. So the concept of transmitting an STI, Mia, or Maya, apologies. Again, that's an issue with safe schmex. So if you met a man, assuming that you were interested in men, but if you met a man who had a body count of 2 and he never used protection, he doesn't have an STI test to show you whether or not he's clear of STIs, you wouldn't know, right? But if you met a man that had schmex 10 times, and every time he used protection, and every time he got tested, and he could show you an up-to-date STI test to show that he doesn't have anything, you would probably feel more comfortable having schmex with the man that's done it 10 times. And that's because he's been safe, and he's been practicing safe schmex, right? So the point that's being made there is that's not then logical towards body count mattering, because you've gone with the person with a higher body count there. But it makes sense that the STIs is what bothers you, and that's why you would go with him. So the point to emphasize is that's a safe schmex issue, that's not a body count issue. And that's absolutely fine, by the way. That's fine to say that you want to be with someone who practices safe schmex, you know, because that's your health. Absolutely. But the body count in that situation wasn't the problem. Oh, Major, one look and I know you're blocked. There you go. Johnny, that's anecdotal, not factual. Do you think a man can mention anything about what his partner wears as a sign of respect? Yeah, if he's being complimentary, sure. If you're complimenting your partner on how they look in like a dress or an outfit, then yeah, that's being respectful. But if you're telling her to change her clothing for a certain reason, you need to unpack what the reason is first. What's the reason that you would feel the need to tell a grown adult why they shouldn't be wearing what they're wearing in a way where they obviously think it's not a problem and you do? Well, are you giving fashion advice because she asked for it or because you feel the need to give that to her, you know? Again, Johnny, it's just anecdotal experiences. Catherine, it is, yes. It's the bougie cat fountain that we have. Is she outside? I had this yesterday, right? Yesterday evening, when I did a live, right? I looked across to the window. Who's requesting? Long shot, just give me 2 seconds. I looked across to the window and a bee was flying against the window continuously. And I was looking, thinking, what are you doing? Like, why'd you keep doing that? And it flew away, right? And I just looked again and the exact same thing happened, right? Just literally. And I couldn't help but think, that's the second time it's happened. Why? And I'm just wondering whether this is the reason why. Just bear with me. Is there any potential chance that the bee was flying to the window because it saw these? Like, genuinely, could the bee have seen them and sort of gone, oh, no? Oh my God, this chair is going to go one day. Okay, I'm glad we've got mixed responses. Lovely. Long shot, age and pronoun, please.
Oh, am I in?
Yep.
Hello. I was born on October 2nd, 2006. I'm 19. I'm a he, him.
Thank you. Which prompt do you disagree with?
I actually had just a question. I got like an invite to the live that's literally never happened. Did you manually invite me or is that automated?
Someone else might have invited you, but I can't do that from here.
Alright, yeah, I was just wondering if that was automatic or if I was like, yeah, okay. I'll just leave then. Sorry.
Oh, okay. No worries. Bye-bye. Right. Wait, I thought a second ago it wasn't interesting, and now you want bee puns. I'm confused, Kitty. What is going on? Royal, I go live Monday to Saturday in the evening at 7:30 p.m. UK time, and I do afternoons Monday to Friday unless something comes up, or unless I've got appointments or bookings, whatever it might be. So the afternoons are always tricky because it's usually between 12 and 1 that I will go live, but on Thursdays, for example, I have like an appointment at 1, so then I'll probably go live at 2. So yeah, the afternoon ones are never set times. Mid-30s. Do you have what? Hello, Kitty.
K42 Shihar, can you behave, please?
Honey, stop.
Mm,
No.
it has to have.
I'm getting laughing emojis.
No, it's.
Ah.
No, it has to have B in it. No. B puns, not things associated with bees. B.
So B puns.
The word B in it. Oh, we actually have guests in here now.
Do we?
Hang on. Just hang on a moment. No. I'm in serious mode now. Chat, no transphobia. We're not doing this. It doesn't matter what anyone sounds like. It doesn't matter what anyone's tone of voice is. Okay, regardless. All men are welcome to request up. That includes trans men as well. Okay? We're not doing the, oh, well, their voice could be this. There's cis women who have deep sounding voices as well. Thank you, Alwyn. That was great. I saw. Yeah. That's my favourite one because tied into the education. Beautiful. Anyway, right, let's, I don't know, do what you want to do.
Well, the Queen Bee has spoken. Bye, Kitty.
Yeah.
Bye. Donald! Request cancelled. Right, fair enough. Right. Oh, Owen is on one. MVB. That was good. Oh, no, Donald's back. Donald! Asian pronouns, please.
Hi, I'm 24, he, him.
Thank you. Which prompt do you disagree with?
I would say the body count doesn't matter prompt.
Okay, what do you want to say about it?
I think, so when you say it doesn't matter, do you mean it doesn't matter to any extent?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would have to disagree. Even from a medical point of view, that you can literally catch diseases from a lot of activity in that regard and having really high body count. And although that's not a direct correlation in terms of this equals that, it does increase the chances exponentially. And I think to pretend that it doesn't, I think it's just an irresponsible message.
We don't need to pretend it doesn't, we can prove it doesn't. So let's say that you went out and you met a woman who had a body count of 2 and she never used protection, she never got tested, and she can't tell you whether she's got an STI or not.
Yeah.
Then you met a woman who's had schmex 10 times, body count of 10. She used protection every time, she's been tested every time, and she can show you an up-to-date test which proves she has an... Goodbye, Donald, bye. Just left, bye. See you later, bye. Thanks for the chat. Bye. Oh, he's back! Donald, why did you leave?
Oh, sorry, that was an accident.
Okay. Right, so, and then you meet a woman who's got a body count of 10, who has been tested every time. She used protection every time, and she can show you an up-to-date STI test that she hasn't got any STIs. Who would you feel more comfortable having schmex with?
To be honest, respectfully, those are numbers that I wouldn't really be. Of course. If I had a document that proved that this person doesn't have an STI, of course, naturally, I would be more inclined.
Just pause, just so I can finish through then the hypothetical. So essentially, what you're saying is that safe schmex is what you care about, which is completely fine. I agree with that, but that's not then a body count issue. That's a safe schmex issue. Those are two separate things.
But that's where I disagree, because I think you're comparing quite a low sort of number to potentially hundreds, and it gets very different from 10 to 100 to 200, and to act like there's no difference there.
If you've been safe every time,
sorry.
If you've been safe every time and you got tested every time, it doesn't matter what number it is, you are still following, procedures of safe schmex.
I know, but there is actual evidence data that backs up the fact that there is a much increased chance of having hundreds of flings, for example.
No,
Of course there is.
No, it's not, because
Oh,
when
of
it's
course there is.
safe. No, it's not, because when it's safe and you're using protection and getting tested, those things were not factored into those studies. It doesn't say anything there about whether they use protection or not.
But this is the point of contention, because having, for example, and we're talking in extremes now because obviously your point is that it doesn't matter to any extent, having a body count of 500, for example, that that is the point of contention. That isn't safe.
Yes, it is. Why isn't it?
It can't be, because you cannot be interacting with that number of people
Donald,
and having intercourse.
what do you think the body count is of corn stars?
Yeah, but but that doesn't matter, because there are corn stars that have STIs.
No, they are not, because they can't do their
They're
job.
not.
They
They're
can't.
not.
You're going to listen? They can't do their job if they have any. That's why they have to get tested every time. Because if they get tested, if they contract an STI, they are out of work for a long time. That's their career. So arguably, corn stars are the most safe out there, because they literally won't engage in work with someone if they can't show them a test.
That's not necessarily true, because people that have STIs still have intercourse.
Not if you're a corn star, you won't, because you won't be able to work. You can't, that's literally against their policies. That's against
Against their policies.
the
I
contracts.
mean,
the contracts.
they don't all work with contracts.
Okay, so
You're talking about big.
You've met every. Oh,
Of course not. Of course not. But I'm saying, just like you're saying none of them, I'm also saying you can't say that none of them, because you don't know. You don't.
I didn't say none of them. I'm saying that there are corn stars that would have a body count of 500 plus, who practice safe schmex and might have never contracted an STI because of it. So again,
that may be true. That may be
so there
true.
you go. So the only thing that would change is if you weren't safe.
But here's a caveat to that: is that, like I said, the average person isn't a corn star. They're not getting medically checked every single week.
And there's the issue. Thank you.
But the problem is, no. Here's the problem, though. If you just let me finish the point, is that you cannot sit here and say that having a 500 or 1,000 body count doesn't increase the likelihood of STIs, because that is scientifically incorrect.
No,
You
it's
just
not.
can't spread that message.
That's not scientifically correct.
So if you think, so you think you're going to find data that backs up the point that says having that many flings, or whatever you want to call it,
Let me give you another
that doesn't increase. No, wait. Answer the question. Doesn't increase the chance of STIs. You think you're going to?
It doesn't. There's no scientific evidence that will suggest that. You haven't read the studies correctly, because safe schmex wasn't included within that study. I'll give you another example.
That's common knowledge.
Well, now you're changing it. You've gone from science to common knowledge. So no, that just goes to show you're just making.
I mean, it is because you can ask any medical professional.
No, I don't need to, because they wouldn't say that. So again, they will encourage
Of course
safe
they would.
schmex. No, they wouldn't. Again, you're just making things up on the spot, Donald. Again, let
you
me get
cannot-
to my second point that you're not letting me say, right? If you have schmex with one person,
Yeah.
how do you not know that if they've got a body count of one already, how do you not know that that one person they have schmex with doesn't have a body count of 500 themselves? Which means that that person you have schmex with was also exposed to those other 500 people that their previous partner had schmex with, and can potentially have contracted something that way. How do you not know that?
Well, obviously I don't know that, because no one
Exactly.
can know
But
that.
therefore,
But
body
what I'm
count
saying,
can't
what I'm
matter.
saying is, if you
You've been
if
exposed
you
to
look at it like
500
this,
people.
not at all, and
course.
wait. Let me quickly break it down to you.
You
For
can't.
example, like you said, we don't know. So there's obviously every possibility that every person may or may not carry a STI, right? So that means every time you technically do have intercourse with someone and there's no actual documentation to prove this person doesn't have an STI, you're taking a risk. Now, is it the same as taking that risk with a person that's had intercourse once, or 500 times, or 1,000 times? That risk obviously increases, and I don't really get how you don't see that point.
You're just not listening. You're listening to respond, not to actually absorb the information. So I'll try again, and I'll do it.
I'm very clear though, that's a very clear point.
No, because you're just repeating the same thing I've already counted earlier. So I'll give you another example. Let's say that you go out on a date with a woman, right? And you are going to have schmecks with her that evening because you both agree to, and she shows you an STI test that says, I don't have any STIs.
Yeah.
Are you going to have schmecks with her that night?
That shows she doesn't have STIs, yeah.
So if you're going to have schmecks with her that night, clearly her body count doesn't matter to you because she's shown you a test. You then have schmecks, and after that she tells you my body count was 500. Doesn't matter, does it?
I mean, no, it does matter.
Well, obviously not, because you had schmecks with her.
No, because obviously the STIs is one factor of it, and that is a massive factor. That's from a biological, medical point of view.
No, don't try and go down biology.
like I
That's
said,
nonsense.
it's medically, it's dangerous. It's a disease that you can catch, so it is dangerous. It's biologically dangerous to the human body.
I just explained
And
to you.
I've explained to you as well.
Okay, well, you're refusing to listen because you're just being stubborn.
I'm
That's
not.
fine,
I'm
but
not.
you've been debunked on everything you said. So
Not at all, not at all. And there's another angle to it, which I was hoping you'd let me get
I'm
on.
going to mute you and let Staples come up now because you're just repeating and you're just refusing to actually listen to the examples given because you literally just contradicted yourself. You said you would have schmecks with her if she showed you that she had an STI test that proved she was clear. So if the body count mattered that much to you, you'd have asked her before, but you didn't. So if you don't care about that, then clearly all you care about is STIs. But then if she's got a body count of 500, didn't matter to you because you wanted to have schmecks with her because of the test. It just shows it's illogical, inconsistent. The Staples, over to you, please. I don't know how else I can explain it, but I don't think you recognize
All good.
like countering his own points.
44 she had. I'm just here, Donald, really, because as someone that was actually a medical professional that administered these STI tests, gave prescriptions for contraception methods, different things. I just wondered if you'd got any questions about it because you seem to be quite into the medical side of it.
You can unmute, Donald.
I mean, questions for you?
Well, you kept throwing the medical word around and saying medically it's not true. Or so as someone that actually has prescribed those medications, as someone that's performed those tests on people, that's given them the results back, that's been in sexual health clinics, I just wondered if you had any questions because you seem to be deciding the facts before. So
No, I'm not deciding the facts. Look, I think you guys are misinterpreting what I'm saying and sort of thinking that this is some fringe opinion when this is just, I mean, this is a Google search away. It's very clear.
I worked for the NHS.
If you have intercourse at a certain level, and what I mean by certain level, that's fine, but that doesn't mean you're qualified necessarily to go against data that's already out.
Yeah, so I worked
you could have
within.
worked at the NHS.
I worked within clinical guidelines with the NHS that were across the whole of the
That's
country.
great.
Yeah, so they were based on facts and clinical studies. The
So
data
the
that you
facts
speak
are-
of.
Okay, so you know the data well, right?
Yeah, I know how
Okay.
safe schmecks should be practiced, and I know how to educate people on doing that come into clinics to have it done.
I'm sure you know how safe intercourse should be practiced, and I wouldn't doubt you for a second on that. The simple thing that I'm saying is that if you go to those excessive numbers, and I'm talking, I mean, excessive, that's anyone's opinion, whatever, but
Well,
I'm saying
no.
the
So
higher you go, the risk does increase, and that's literally
No,
Google
so-
search away.
No. So when you are a nurse prescriber, or things like that, which is something that I've done, you get given clinical guidelines, and the clinical guidelines tell you if something changes. So if you can, a bit like if you go to your doctor and they want to give you a medication, they would ask what other medications you were on. If someone's sexual health were to be adversely affected by the frequency, that would be part of the guidelines, but it isn't. It's about how you practice it safely, and if those people you've practiced it with have also practiced it safely. Yes, some of the guidance has changed, but that's changed because it used to be very rooted in homophobic rhetoric. And
I mean,
also, crucially,
I don't know about the homophobic
you don't have to
part
give
of that, but
your... Sorry? Yeah, so things like giving blood and stuff like that, you would be
I'm
asked
not sort of
questions
saying that
about
the
your
frequency.
sexual history and things like that, which the guidelines have changed on that now because they understand more about it. And as we understand more and more about it, the science is very much you practice safe schmex. And actually, from a misogyny point of view, most research that's done on contraception is for men's benefit, not for women. So you would definitely know if it was an issue because that's why it's practiced.
I'm not debating that point, but what I'm saying is that why was the frequency a question to begin with?
Because it was born in a time when people would generally not publicly have sex outside of marriage. So it would be about, it was to see if they were in a monogamous relationship.
And so it was basically rooted in misogyny and had nothing to do with safety. Are you serious? Is that your point?
Yeah, I'm 100% deadly serious. It's rooted in,
Yeah,
basically,
that's
it's if you're, okay, well, I mean, I hope you follow Safe Schmeck's advice, but it's based on if you are, how many partners you have at the time, and if all of those partners are practicing the same standard of safety as you. That's all it's based in.
All right. So the number doesn't matter. They were just asking that because they were just trying to get at women.
To see if it was.
I'm not even applying this to women specifically. I'm saying for men
Please
as
don't
well.
raise your voice to me again.
No, I'm not raising my voice.
Okay, well, it sounded a bit like you did, but okay. No, it's not about frequency, it's about exclusivity. Because if you're in a relationship with one person and you know they're having safe schmex, the risk is what you're advising the person administering a test. Whereas if you're not in a relationship and you've had several experiences that week, they need to know about that. It's so that they know who to pass information on should there have been an exposure. It's to do with many things, but none of it is to do with how it doesn't affect you in that way. It's all to do with making sure if somebody does have an STI, they can pass the information on to the right people to make it safe.
Donald, you can unmute.
Yeah, like I said, I mean, I don't doubt your credentials in terms of like safe intercourse. I'm sure you know a lot about that, probably more than me in terms of the specifics, the ins and outs. But what I'm saying is, you can't sit here in front of an audience of 300 people and say having a 5 body count, for example, and a 5,000 body count carries the same likelihood of carrying an STI, because that's just wrong.
I can, and just a caveat, I haven't practiced or renewed my PIN in years, so I would just like to caveat that if it's, because I have children and have been at home with them. And that wasn't, just to be very clear, I was practicing safe schmex, it was all consensual. But the thing is, you're focusing on the number as if, the caveat is always if they're having safe schmex, that's the caveat, not the number.
I mean, but it is wrong because, for example, and I'll use Bonnie Blue as an example, right?
Of course
because
you
she's
will.
no, not from any. I don't have a vendetta against her, but she's the one that's really
She's the one that you can name, that's the point. Because you don't know anyone else that's done
spotlight
it.
about all of this stuff, and what she's doing is quite on the tail end. I mean, people don't. What you're saying? Anyway, as an example, doctors have come out and said this is not healthy. So I don't understand what this like hoo-ha is about. What I'm saying, I'm just saying that, does body count matter to an extent? Yeah, because it's sexual health, just like you have mental health, just like you have physical health, and all of these things, they need to be practiced within proportion. And if you take those things to extremes, then yeah, you're going to increase the likelihood. It's not a direct correlation. It's not A plus B equals Y, but the likelihood will increase. And it's simple as that. I'm not speaking Chinese.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you're not going to listen to like facts, fundamentally, I've told you that. Are you in the UK?
I've dropped him because of.
Oh, I was going to say, I'm sure he goes to the doctors, and I'm sure he listens to NHS practices for other things. So I feel like it's a very pick and choose method of what he wants to listen to the NHS advice over and not. But hey ho.
If I'm not mistaken, as well, the stunt that BB did, everyone had to provide I'm sure they had to provide a test.
They did, I'm sure. Yeah, I mean, that's what made it so. There was so much admin involved beforehand that and it was such a short time, as you would say, about the men's part in it. It was literally the admin was a much more prolonged period than any other part of what happened. So, yeah, and yeah, the as Kitty said, and a few other people, the sign off that he did. What a treat!
Thank you so much for that, though, Staples. Appreciate
No
it.
worries. Thank you, Bobby.
Take care. Bye bye. Last guess, I believe. Remy, age and pronouns, please. Welcome back.
Age 31. Pronoun him or he. Anyone.
Thank you. Which prompt did you disagree with?
I wanted to comment on something before, but I will just go to the prompt I disagree with because the discussion we have with is it Donald or something. But you say men telling their partners what to wear are upholding rape culture.
Rape culture. TikTok friendly.
Grape culture rather. So, but I was just wanting to ask, like, what of men that suggest, like, it's not a must, but they just suggest about their view on what you wear. It's not a must. You can do what you want. What about that? Does that make you wrong?
Yeah, because you'd have to ask yourself the reason why you feel the need to share your opinion on that. Because there would be something triggering inside of you to feel the need to in the first place. What would that be?
All right, so let me give you an example, right? Because I don't understand this double standard where, for instance, relationships I've been in, when I'm dating someone, their opinion matters to me than anybody else outside. So my last relationship, for instance, sometimes I might just get home, I get a haircut, or I bought a dress, I wasted money on a dress, and my girl is telling me that it looks ugly, that doesn't look nice to me. And guess what? Because I value her opinion, there are many times that I listen to her, I'll be like, you know what? I think you're probably right. And I change it. It's not a must for me to change it. She just suggested. And because I love her and I value her opinion, I might look at it that, you know what? Let me just change it. It's a suggestion. She's not forcing me to do what she wants. She might be like, babe, I don't like your haircut. Can you make this hairstyle? And I listen to her. I can decide to still keep that hairstyle, but it's just a suggestion. I think that's what partners do. And in some other cases too, there are some times whereby she might wear something and she asks for my opinion. I don't stop her from wearing what she wants to wear, but she asks for my opinion because she loves me. And I think that's how most partners do. I don't know how most people run their relationship, but they'll be like, oh, babe, what do you think about this dress? And sometimes I'll be like, oh, this is very nice, but it's showing your nipple. You get. And when I say, like, she asked for my suggestion, and I said, oh, but it's showing your nipple, and it doesn't stop her. There are many times that she asks for my opinion. I tell her my opinion. She still wear that same dress, and it doesn't even move an inch. We go to our party, we have our normal day, and some days she will agree with me and be like, you know what? Yes, I think this is a little bit revealing, and I change it. I'm not forcing her. So, but as partners, we can suggest and give our opinions on things, and I don't think that's a bad thing. Because she gives me opinion a lot on the way I dress sometimes. I'll be like, babe, the way you're dressed now, you look like a Boy Scout. You look like a donkey or something like that, like a joke. And I'll be like, you know what, babe, I think you're right. Let me change this outfit. It doesn't make it wrong.
If you're being asked an opinion because she's coming to you for that advice or for that, guidance or whatever it might be, then she's giving consent for you to comment on her clothing, right? If you're gonna if she's gonna walk down the stairs and you're gonna go, that's really this, you should change it, then yes, that upholds great culture.
No, I would never say change it. What I do is,
but I'm saying if she's asking you, that's different because the consent has been given for that opinion.
No, there's some.
Yeah,
you go on. You say if she asks me, but I wanted to say there are sometimes she doesn't ask me. Same way, sometimes I just wear a dress, and my girl is like, bruh, you're not good. And my girl sometimes look at me and be like, bro, you said what?
Your partner, not my girl, my partner.
Well, so for instance, me saying my girl, that makes me like a misogynistic man or what?
Well, when you're saying girl, like girls are children, she's a woman. So you would say partner because it's a partnership.
Oh, okay. All right. So my partner, when she, sometimes I might just wear something and I'm going out already and she'll be like, babe, what's that you're wearing? and she'll be like, babe, that doesn't look good. And I'll be like, and I'll feel like I look good, but I might just go back to the mirror and be like, "Ah, I think you're right, you know. There's sometimes I ignore and I just still go, and I'll be like, I'm just going to the gym, so what I'm wearing doesn't matter. I will ignore her. It's not a force. But there's sometimes I'll listen to what she said without me asking her, oh, what do you think on this? I don't need to ask her, what do you think on this? Sometimes I might dress, and she might not just like the way I'm dressed, saying I dress like a little boy. And I'll be like, you know what? Okay, I think you're right. And I change it. And vice versa. Sometimes she might wear something and I'll be like, babe, why don't... Sometimes it's not even about the clothes. Sometimes I'll be like, babe, I don't like that red dress. I think that blue dress fits you better. It's not even about revealing sometimes. It's like, I just feel that these is normal things that partners do. But you guys have double standard. When a man have any little bit of opinion on his woman, is misogyny. It's not right.
No, Remy, I think the difference is like you're comparing two different reasons as to why the clothing is being addressed. If it's being addressed in a fashion sense, in terms of I don't think those two colors match, then okay, like that's not something that has necessarily upheld oppression or misogyny to women in the past. But when men do come from the premise of changing on things like because it's potentially revealing or because they think that men are going to objectify them because of it, women have experienced harm from that as a narrative. Men don't experience that kind of harm when it comes to the potential of them being objectified by women, right? I'm not saying that it's okay for women to do that, but I'm saying the systemic harm that has been caused and upheld from that is entirely different. For example, men walking around the street with their t-shirt off is something that men can just casually do without getting any kind of, pushback on it. Whereas if a woman was to do that, we all know what would be said. So that's different. Again, if you're talking about like playful, consensual, discussions that you two have around clothing on like, you look like this, you look like that. But when it's done to police what she's wearing because of the potential of being objectified, that's where it upholds grape culture. Fashion is not necessarily, in some cases it might be, but I don't think it's always directly linked to grape culture when you're talking about what colors go with each other, or what, that's a bit different to, I don't want you to wear that, or I don't think you should wear that because other men might stare, or because that's too revealing, or because that should be for my eyes only. That kind of rhetoric upholds grape culture.
All right. I think I agree with that. But I think I'll just go straight to the point on why I actually came up to say this is because I'll give you an example, if you don't mind, where I was dating someone, right? And I don't know if what I'm about to say is not going to sit well with you, but I was dating someone and we always go to parties together, like night parties together where my friends are going to be there and stuff. But she had this thing where when she wears a gown or she wears a dress, we always had this issue where I was always unhappy because she wouldn't wear panties because she doesn't feel comfortable when she wear the gown. She prefer not to wear anything underneath. And as a man, sometimes I'm always scared that, sometimes you might have wine and I wouldn't want a situation where maybe you slip and you fall and some other men could see your private part. You get me? So that was my concern, right? And she was always doing this because I can't force her on what she can do, right? I can't force her. So, but there was a particular day we got drunk and my biggest fear happened where she slipped, her gown tore.
Remy, I'm going to say pause because again, look, this isn't your story to tell. Like it's not, and it's not respectful to talk about someone else's experience here without knowing where it's going. So I don't want that to continue, respectfully.
Okay, but I'm sure you get the point already where I was heading. So that's just one of the example where some things can be legit, why someone has some fears about some things. Because the worst fear happened that night and, that's it. But I'll just go straight to another thing then, which is...
Remy, just as Lindy said in the chat, right, we have to be very clear about something. Nothing would have happened if the perpetrator of potential or the harm was in the room. So regardless, there was nothing wrong with her choice of clothing. It was the person who decided to behave in a certain way that's the problem.
No, yeah, I get you, but
No, Remy, there genuinely is no but. There isn't, right? If men don't know how to behave, men are the problem. Women's clothing is never a problem.
Yeah, I understand that's perfectly true. But I'm giving you a context of, regardless that regardless that I'm giving trying to listen to me what I'm trying to say. I'm
Yeah,
giving you
when you say but, it shows you're not agreeing or listening to.
I'm agreeing, but I'm referencing something else. That's what you're not listening to me talk. I'm agreeing. I agree perfectly with you that whatever the man chooses to do makes him a bad person, right? Whatever he sees and acts on it makes him a bad person. That's perfectly true. But I'm saying the point I'm trying to raise is that scenario. Obviously, it's kind of embarrassing if someone is naked in front of you. Like, obviously,
I'm not doing it, Remy. Not doing it. Just no. Aura, age and pronouns, please.
Hello,
Hello, age and pronouns, please.
I'm 20, him.
Thank you. Which prompt do you disagree with?
I would start with the second one, the
Okay.
body count.
What would you like to say about it?
So, could you elaborate on what you mean by it doesn't matter?
Yeah, so body count doesn't tell you anything factual about who a person is. And I think that if a man has an issue with a woman's body count, it's rooted in misogyny or insecurities. And those things come from the interpretation of what body count means to them. It doesn't necessarily mean that the body count is the issue. It's your view of it that's the issue.
Okay. Yeah, I would also agree that it doesn't define the character of a person or the values of a person. But would you also say it's not valid for a person to select a partner or someone who the person wants to date based on their sexual partners in history?
Well, no, because I would say that that's potentially dehumanizing because you are reducing them down to just schmexual experiences as to whether or not they're compatible for you.
I mean, obviously that wouldn't be the only factor, but also like one of the factors.
Okay, so then let's say that you met your perfect person and they had a body count of 500 because men like to be extreme. Would you date her?
Me personally, no, I wouldn't date her.
Okay, so then arguably it is the only thing and the main thing because if everything else was perfect, that still would be enough for you to turn away. So technically, then, that is the only thing. Because that was the only thing that was in that situation or example that was an issue for you.
Yeah, okay, but let's say you have a person where you're unsure about if you want to date her or not. And the last factor which you're unsure about is the body count. And would you say it's valid then to decide based on the body count if you want to date her or not? If it would be like a 50-50 situation,
Nope.
if you're sure.
No, because you'd have to ask yourself why that bothers you. And I'm saying whatever reason you give will be an insecure one or a misogynistic one. If it's insecure, that's for you to deal with. And if it's misogynistic, that's for you to unpack.
I mean, there are studies on
You won't find any study that suggests that body count factually is an issue.
A higher body count links to wait, I'm German, so I have to translate them before I really say anything. So a higher body count is a risk marker for obviously sexual infections.
Okay, so let's start with that. If you met a woman who had a body count of 2 and she never used protection and she doesn't have a test that she can show you to say that she's clear of all STIs, and then you met a woman who has a body count of 10 who used protection every time and does have a test to show you that she's clear of STIs, who would you prefer to have schmex with?
I prefer the second person.
Okay, so then body count there is not the issue. The person who didn't practice safe schmex is the issue. So
Yeah,
that's not,
I would say it's a mixture of
body count isn't the issue then. What the issue is for you is the person who didn't practice safe schmex.
I mean, if you
is not body count.
if you'd have if you would have both persons like both persons have a body count of 10
You're
and
changing the variables, and that's the point, right? The point is that I'm testing your logic on whether or not the STIs is correlating to the body count being a problem. And so for you would still go with the person with a higher body count because they've been tested. So therefore, it's not a body count thing that bothers you, clearly. It's the test, it's the STI that bothers you. That's why I'm saying for you in that situation, the body count clearly isn't a problem.
yeah, but if you have a higher body count, like let's say you would have a body count of 500, I would argue that there's a much higher chance that you didn't use protection every time, or the other sexual partner did not use protection the right way,
That still
or
doesn't
you.
that still doesn't make sense, because if you go on a date with a woman and it's going really well, and in that evening you're agreeing to have schmex, and she shows you an STI test that is clear of STIs, would you feel comfortable having schmex with her now?
Yeah, obviously.
But what if her body count's 500?
Yeah, it wouldn't change a thing on the safety.
So the point is then the body count doesn't matter, right? Because she's still clear of STIs. So you're not now choosing to not have schmex with her because of STIs.
Yeah, I get your point.
That's the issue, right? It's like, I agree, everybody should be practicing safe schmex. The fact that people don't is the reason why STIs will obviously be contracted by more people. But that's not then a body count issue, because someone who's had schmex twice and not been protected could have contracted one, and someone who's done it 100 miles and was safe every time might not have anything, right? So that's why we have to eliminate the idea of STIs being body count. They're two completely separate things.
Okay, and what would you say against the argument that a higher body count leads to a higher rate of I don't know how you say it, like that you're not happy in a relationship, and that you're
Divorce?
Yeah, divorce and yeah.
So is that a study by Family of Institutes?
No, there are several. I have like two studies. I found two studies.
Let's say that you had a partner who you got into a relationship with, and it was going to lead to a marriage. Do you think you would have already found out your partner's schmexual history in terms of like how many people they've had schmex with in the past? Like, do you think that's something that couples commonly know about each other?
Yeah.
Okay, so if you know that information and you get married, you're not then divorcing that person because their body count is that number. You are divorcing that person, okay, but then you recognize that's not the cause. So you are divorcing that person because maybe someone was abusive, maybe there was something to do with finances, maybe someone had an affair, maybe they were arguing a lot, maybe they've fallen out of love, right? Those are the reasons why the divorce occurs. So using body count as a way to try and justify that that's linked in some way pushes the narrative towards purity culture, which is misogynistic. So if you don't have the cause, then the correlation means nothing. Because in that study, or all of those studies you talk about, why wasn't the question asked, why did you divorce? Because you could quite easily ask that individual, but instead it's trying to drive a narrative that body count somehow is the reason for this. It's not. None of those studies will say that it's proven that it is. The majority of those studies say that further investigation needs to be done. And it's like, you could literally just ask the people that participated, why did you divorce your partner or your ex-partner? And they could say, because of this, because of that, because of this. And it's like, great, now we have the cause. So if that's the cause, then surely we need to look at why that's occurring. For example, if 1,000 people got a divorce and 200 was because of abuse, now we can maybe start looking at why there was abuse. Like you know?
Yeah, I see. Yeah, I need to look into these studies. I like really read them and not.
I appreciate it. Thanks for coming up, Laura. Have a good evening.
Yeah, you too.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right. Okay. We will come to a close there. Tomorrow, there will be no live. Hooray! We will be back on Monday in the afternoon and 7:30 p.m. UK time. For those of you that would like to catch up on any of the lives, you can find them on the tube. It's called Lex_therapy and the number 1. Please do show some support and drop a follow. I think we're on 176 followers. If we could get to 180, we're always aiming for 5 alive. Claudine's there with the 176. If we could get to 180, that would be phenomenal. If 5 of you, 4 of you, 5 of you could drop a follow, that'd be incredible.